You don't see major OE manufacturers put as much energy into the cars as this, right? You see some people who are worried about the details, but the details that they put into this, I haven't seen a car that they were worried about all the details as they were with this car. When I built it, my original goals were to run 1250s in the quarter mile, to run over 1G on a skid pad / an autocross, like tight turning autocross, on 205, 200 treadwear street tires, and then also get above 50 to 55 miles per gallon on the highway.
For its time, it was ahead of its time. Being built on the same line and same factory as the NSX, that's pale in comparison to the technological highlights of the vehicle.
Like Honda went crazy on throwing everything at it. Magnesium engine block, all aluminum chassis, you know, aerodynamic as any car's ever been. For an enthusiast that is interested in making cars faster and, you know, putting turbos on, making, you know, more power, it's like, okay, well, this is just another goal. You want to get better fuel economy. So how do we do that? So you take all the aspects I learned from making something, you know, more efficient at accomplishing another task, and you just apply it to a different goal. And like, how is this not the perfect car to do it with? My name is Dan O'Donnell. I'm with Professional Awesome Racing. We do time attack stuff, but this is my 2000 Honda Insight Daily Driver. This is like meant for practicality. It's not meant to impress anybody, although when you say you get 60 miles per gallon, that does impress people. It's not meant to look good. It's just meant to be a tool. And it's the perfect tool for day-to-day life. Depending on the options you get, and basically the only options are a CVT transmission or 5-speed, and AC or not. The cars weigh between like 1,800 and 1,900 pounds. The Insight has a 1-liter 3-cylinder engine with a magnesium block. So it's extra lightweight, and that makes a whopping 67 horsepower. The electric motor assist for the hybrid system can add additional 13 horsepower. It's really cool too because it can do extreme lean burn. So if you know a little bit about fuel economy, most cars driving around when they're cruising, it's doing 14.7 to 1 air to fuel ratio. But in this car, it can actually go up to about 25 to 1 for a period of time to get that insane 60, 70 miles per gallon while cruising steady state.
It's all about weight. The case is made of magnesium just to get weight out of it. For instance, reverse idler gear. They put holes in it, drilled holes in it to pull weight out of it. Same thing with like first and second gear. They kept on drilling holes to pull it out. Shift rails, they're hollow instead of solid. The less weight, the less power you need to move.
Hi, I'm Mike Lewin from Professional Awesome, and this is my 2001 Honda Insight with a K24 swap. In terms of a car that has been produced in the last 50 years, you'd be hard pressed to find something that they put more time and energy and more love in than this. If you look at the details, the chassis is one of the stiffest in terms of torsional rigidity that Honda ever made. It's obviously one of the lightest too. They put so much time and energy into efficient aerodynamics, right? So it's got a CD of 0.25, which was the lowest of a production car for a long time until Tesla and a couple other cars now have lower CDs, but it took 15, 20 years for a production car to come out with a lower coefficient of drag than this thing.
This particular Insight gets like next to no maintenance. I think it's like had an oil change done in the last year, maybe. It's stupid reliable. So it's got regenerative braking, so it doesn't go through brakes. Yeah, I never do oil changes. Nothing has ever failed on this other than because I didn't do oil changes. I ran out of oil once and snapped the camshaft. And so it's got a new engine in it. A new engine like 150,000 miles ago.
If you treat it right, if you change the oil, I mean, they have extended oil changes, but if you change the oil a little bit sooner than the extended oil change, most of the Insights that I've seen have 350, 400,000 miles on them, keep on ticking, keep on ticking.
Mine's got 408,000 on it, and you wouldn't know it by looking at it.
They last a very long time. There's nothing else to go wrong. The biggest problem with these cars are brake lines, fuel lines, and oil change interval. If you do a good job with those, and then obviously the battery is the last one. When the batteries go bad, you can get a new replacement pack that's ready to go, installed for about $2,000, and people might balk at that or whatever. But if you have a 250,000 mile car that you put a $2,000 battery pack in, that reasonably you haven't done a lot of maintenance to, I guarantee you haven't done a lot of maintenance. This had 250,000 miles on it, had stock wheel bearings, had the brake pads were still Honda, like I'm sure it's just a one set. The rear shoes were original. The front bushings, all original, all stock arms, all stock everything. There's just not a lot of maintenance. The shocks and struts, original. Like there's just not much that fails on them.
So the hybrid battery is actually 120 D-sized nickel metal hydride batteries within the entire battery pack. And from the factory, they have a 6.5 amp hour battery pack, but in the aftermarket, you can actually get 8 amp hour batteries. This particular Insight has an 8 amp hour battery pack. So that extra 1.5 actually makes the car faster, which is cool, and it gets better fuel economy. And additionally, so in these control units, they've been modified, and I actually did that with the help of a friend to increase the amount of amperage output that this battery pack can produce to the motor. So it's got extra horsepower, extra torque from the electric motor, and the regenerative braking is stronger by about 40%. In the hyper mileage world, there are people that are super, super dedicated to getting like the absolute best fuel economy possible, and that requires controlling the electric motor in ways that Honda didn't intend it. And so there are actually controllers that you can by hand while driving, give it more output or regenerative braking depending on when you need it.
We went through one of these transmissions in Aaron's car. Aaron went through and dialed up the gears, isotropic super finished the gear set on the thing, and was able to find, what'd you say, 2-3 miles per gallon?
About average 2 to 3 mpg better on top of what I'm already getting. There's really no like aftermarket world for them. You got a couple controllers you can buy for the IMA. I really don't know what else there is. I mean, K-swap is
K swap is the land, is the direction everyone's going with the car.
Basically, I did a whole workup on this car. I wanted to do a swap, but I also wanted to make it as stock as possible. So I did a K24 swap with a RSX transmission, custom final drive, did custom suspension front and rear to make it handle a little bit better, drive a little bit better. Honda put so much time and energy for the small details in this car to make it good. They spent a lot of money making it light and efficient, and with that, I just thought, might as well give it 5 times the power, but keep everything else pretty much the same, and runs 1188s. I pulled 1.27-ish Gs at an autocross on Federal RSRRs, which aren't the best 200 treadwear tires, so that's good. And it makes 225 wheel. On the highway with snow tires, it'll get 53 to 55 miles per gallon. We make some parts for the swap. When I originally had it, there wasn't a lot of parts for it the way that I wanted to do the swap because I wanted to be as OE as possible. So it's an extremely limited aftermarket. We're one of the major providers of aftermarket parts, and we don't provide much. We're working on a front suspension replacement for stock Insights, as well as K-Series Insights, those types of things. There's just not many people out there who have anything available for them. It's mostly just enthusiasts who've kind of started making solutions available that they put on their own cars.
It's like a cheap turd of a car, you know, it's worth a couple grand at best. I've like toyed with the idea of selling it, and I just can't bring myself to. And I've gone through a lot of cars. I had Evo 7, I had a supercharged BMW M3. I mean, the list goes on, and like, it was no problem getting rid of those cars. But I've actually had people approach me to like buy this particular car and give me extra money more than it was worth. And I couldn't do it. I was like, I've got an Evo 10, you want that? You want to give me extra money for that? But this is like, it's too perfect for what I need it for. And I've just grown to love it so much.
We call them mini pickup trucks because we have put a lot of stuff into them. They get phenomenal fuel economy. There's just not that many downsides except for the fact that it doesn't have rear seats. Like, it doesn't have those extra seats, but if that's not a big deal to you, we put engines in them, transmissions in them, multiple engines in them, multiple transmission in them, and get, you know, stock one's 70 miles a gallon and this one 55 to 60. So there's not really a downside to me. There's no other car like it.